BLSA and Intellidex say it's most likely South Africa will find itself on the grey list of the Financial Action Task Force come February 2023. This is as the country has been found lacking in its anti-money laundering and terrorism financing controls. The listing thus reflecting loss of confidence in the country's abilities to deal with such crimes. The report says to minimize the impact of the grey listing, the country needs to make sure it tells the story of comprehensive and credible efforts to address the Financial Action Task Force's concerns as soon as possible. It says the economic impact could be limited or severe depending on how South Africa reacts to the grey listing.
South Africa has obviously faced significant challenges in the investigation and prosecution of commercial crime, particularly during and following the state capture era, when it experienced systemic and undermining of the key institutions of the criminal justice system. So institutions like the police, the National Prosecuting Service were cynically undermined and ran in the later years of the Zuma presidency. And I think this legacy has really proved difficult to undo, although clear progress has been made, particularly more recently.
It's estimated the impact may be at under 1% of GDP if South Africa acts with speed, or to 3% of GDP if the country is perceived to be slow and unwilling to meet the standards set by the Financial Action Task Force. The impact will likely be in the form of increased transaction costs for cross-border payments, as well as the general reputational impact.
Official bilateral investment flows are going to be affected. So those from European Union government-level institutions and multilateral European institutions. Greylisting imposes a requirement on them to immediately introduce enhanced due diligence, and that is going to complicate and delay access to those development flows, and the same is true for the United Kingdom. It's not the same for portfolio investors and foreign direct investors. So, fund managers and so on who are investing into our markets are not directly affected.
The researchers say for how long South Africa stays on the grey list will depend on progress it makes in addressing the concerns raised by the FATF. The report says amongst areas that the country has been found lacking on is in the gathering and dissemination of data regarding beneficial owners of trusts and companies, as well as the Directorate for the Priority Crime Investigation, or the Hawks, have to make progress in building capacity to investigate money laundering, terrorist financing and other commercial crimes. The Financial Intelligence Center also needs to effectively regulate non-financial institutions. SABC News, Johannesburg.